Good morning and welcome to the judges, teachers, guests, and participants of the 13 Fully Residential Schools International Symposium 2025. Now, I'd like to introduce our judges today. The Chief Judge is Dr. Nur Adila Ahmad Zain, Senior Lecturer, Faculty of Hotel and Tourism Management, University Technology Mara, Selangor, Malaysia. The second judge is Ms. Syafiqah Amirah binti Saleh from Sekolah Menengah Sains Puteri. And the third judge is Mrs. Fakrani binti A. Rahman from Smart Labu. And I, Saudara Anak Perempuan Silver from Sekolah Menengah Sains Kuala Selangor, while the timekeepers, Muhammad Afiq Ryan bin Muhammad Nur and Muhammad Alif Irfan bin Nasrul Fawid are from Sekolah Menengah Sains Kuala Selangor. Now, allow me to read the rules. Each team should consist of presenters and a technical assistant. The presentation must focus on the sub-team assigned to the team. Duration of the presentation should not be more than 10 minutes. The bell will be rung once at the 9th minute and twice at the 10th minute. A question and answer session will be conducted after each presentation. Without further ado, now I would like to invite Sekolah Menengah Sains Seri Puteri to present.
Test. Test. Imagine waking up in the comforts of your home where your breakfast isn't cereal or toast. It's river fish, wild bananas, or maybe even insects. Sounds like a survival show? Not really. It's a reality for some of our Orang Asli friends.
Assalamualaikum and a very good morning. We bid to honorable judges, loyal timekeeper, moderator, ladies and gentlemen. We are representatives of Seri Science Secondary School and we are here to take you on a journey from the deep green forests all the way to the dinner table as we are here to present our research entitled From Forest to Feast under the sub-theme Social Enterprises in Ecotourism, a Symbiotic Approach to Poverty Alleviation. Now, allow us to introduce ourselves. My name is Nur Fariha as the moderator, Shahar Neka as the presenter, Alisha Kaisara as the reporter, Iman Medina as the technical assistant, and Ms. Zuratul Nakia as our teacher advisor.
To continue, let us enlighten you on what we will be covering for today, which are the contents and the objective. As for the content, we will first begin with our objective, second, our methodology, third, our research finding, which is divided into 4 parts, and finally, our conclusion.
For our objectives, we aim to combat malnutrition by diversifying incomes through social enterprises in ecotourism. We also aim to alleviate malnutrition, poverty, and improve access to nutrition by creating support and awareness among the citizens of Malaysia.
As for our methodology, we as a team use literature reviews and interviews for our qualitatively insights, and we also had a survey conducted for our quantitative data collection.
Now, without further ado, let's dive deeper into our research for today. Let me put it straight. Do you know that Orang Asli are facing hunger? I repeat, Orang Asli are facing hunger. But for the Orang Asli, hunger isn't just about having an empty stomach. It's about malnutrition, which according to the Sustainable Development Goals by the United Nations, is also a form of hunger. It's the kind that doesn't just make you feel tired, but affects your growth, learning, and health. Malnutrition results to many diseases such as anemia. According to the Health Survey of Orang Asli conducted in 2024 by the Ministry of Health of Malaysia, it is found that anemia is way more common among Orang Asli children rather than the national average.
To have better understanding, let's take a look at the Orang Asli's daily diet. Their diet includes cassava, bananas, river fish, wild meats, and even insects. Yes, insects. It may sound wild to us, but it's what they've adapted to. It's nutritious in its own way, but it's not always enough to prevent malnutrition, especially among growing kids. So, why does the Orang Asli communities rely on this kind of food? This is because they are in poverty. Now, take a look at this data. While the percentage of the general population of the Orang Asli communities that live in Malaysia is only at 0.7%, which is approximately around 200,000 people, and among these people, among this percentage, the amount of Orang Asli communities that live in poverty is up to 89.4%. It's shocking, right? These aren't just numbers, it's lives.
This leads us to part 2, where we will discuss a way on how to diversify the income of the Orang Asli community to overcome poverty. So, what does it mean by income diversification? Income diversification refers to the practice of generating income from multiple sources or assets rather than relying on a single source, meaning having many ways to make a living. So, how can we do it? Our proposal: community-owned social enterprises through ecotourism, as these aren't just businesses, they are missions. So, why do we suggest social enterprises instead of normal businesses? Social enterprises are businesses that aim to earn money and support communities, in comparison to normal businesses which only prioritize profits. So, and they are businesses that aim to earn income and improve lives. It is where profit meets purpose.
So, where does ecotourism come in? Ecotourism is a form of travel that not only explores nature but also protects it. It's tourism with a heart. It encourages travelers to be more responsible by protecting the environment, learning from it, and uplifting our local communities. So, why did we choose ecotourism? Firstly, Malaysia's rainforests are among the oldest and richest in the world. From beautiful landscapes to incredible biodiversity, it creates adventurous opportunities for tourists to experience while promoting a strong conservation focus. Secondly, we have Orang Asli's unique culture. Their unique culture influences ecotourism by offering authentic experiences rooted in their deep connection with nature. Their traditional way of living, such as using plants for food and medicine, their traditional dances, and their survival skills, actually helps and enhances ecotourism by improving the educational value of it, making the experience more immersive and impactful.
Now, let us explore one of the underlying factors contributing to the high poverty rate of the Orang Asli community: common misconceptions. Some might say, well, even if the Orang Asli community are in poverty, doesn't the government help? Yes, the government does help by giving grants. However, the real important question that we should be really asking is, do grants directly improve the income levels of the Orang Asli community? And most importantly, how long can they realistically depend on such financial support? Now, how about non-governmental organizations? Many are doing incredible work. They build water wells, grow vegetables, and even rebuild shelters. However, is charity meant to last forever, or is it simply a stepping stone towards independence? Therefore, to create a real long-term change, we need everyone on board, including you.
This leads us to another important question. Are people even aware about the Orang Asli's current situation? On our survey of HE secondary school students, over 60% of them said they were unaware of the Orang Asli's current condition. But when asked if they would support a community-owned social enterprise run by the Orang Asli themselves, 100% said yes. So the issue is, it's not that people don't care, it's because no one has told them. The lack of information combined with common stereotype leads to limited support for their social enterprise. And not to mention, many still view them as isolated, backward, and even stubborn, which prevents many meaningful involvement from the wider community. But here's what truly matters. The Orang Asli communities does not wish to be isolated. They have actively sought out platforms just to share their voice with the world. And according to Freedom Film Fest, they came to us not once, not twice, but 3 times asking us to share their stories. And no one ever forced them. They want connection, not charity, respect, and not pity. This voice, this quote, and this statement was our turning point. We realized that this was no longer just a project. This has become our responsibility to share their stories and their voice with purpose and respect.
Now that that's all out of the way, let us continue to the fun part. How can the public actually help? What can we do?
We can start by hosting events. For instance, cultural festivals, school projects, or even charity bazaars will be very helpful. Whether it's local fest or cultural day, we as a community should show up and connect. Second, we can collaborate with other youth. For instance, the youth groups, schools, or even you sitting here today can be part of a solution, as engagement makes real difference in real life. And third, we can start by spreading the word. Where, you may ask? Just a platform where almost everyone who owns mobile phone uses. For example, the Instagram, TikTok, X, and even Facebook.
Now let's move on to the better part, the benefits. Your involvement actually brings something to the table. Your post increases this. From eye-catching posts to interesting cool facts, the story shared via online platforms actually sparks action and gets you thinking. Secondly, we get to build stronger ties with the community. How do we do this? From our engagement at events and festivals, we get to build stronger and meaningful connection with others. In simpler terms, the good vibes creates a strong bond, bringing us together to make a difference. Thirdly, we get to empower youth and foster early involvement. So what do we mean by this? We get to engage with students and youth clubs to inspire young leaders and raise awareness from an early age. This also prevents this injustice from repeating itself while giving young voices a space to lead, speak up, and make change. Because this isn't just about reducing poverty, it's about building pride.
To sum it all up, everything we've explored today leads to this one real hard truth. Life doesn't make sense without interdependence. We need each other, and the sooner we learn that, the better for us all. Which aligns with the quote by Erik Erikson, a German American child psychoanalyst and visual artist. The poverty, the hunger, and the misconception faced by the Orang Asli communities today are not just statistics or some random numbers, but these are lives to be improved, these are voices to be heard, and these are stories to be shared.
With that, I believe that's all from us. Thank you.
Now the floor will be open to Q&As. I would like to invite participants to ask questions.
Do the crowd has any questions? Yes. Uh, according to the health survey of Orang Asli conducted by the Ministry of Health of Malaysia in 2024, it is proven that anemia is very common among Orang Asli children rather than the national average. It is a proven research. Yes.
Any more questions?
Now I would like to invite the judges to ask their questions.
All right. I think I should start first. Right? Is it okay with panels? All right. Congratulations to Sekolah Menengah Science Puteri. It's a great presentations. As this your presentation is related to zero hunger, and through that you come out with the ecotourism as part of the solutions. So it's triggered me to know how does the village itself is actually accessible to do
Basically, we get to do that. We can see the government, we can help prepare the community. Apa ada? Alleviation. Apa lagi? Itu juga.
Yang kau cakap yang kau cakap dia symbiotic tu. Yeah, that one.
Okay, to answer your question, the government actually can take action by preparing the Orang Asli community and giving them information on how tourism works. Of course, they can help by explaining the procedures and all, but they should also section off some parts of the village, of the community, that they can give for tourism. Of course, you're not going to take the whole village for the tourism, but for your question, I think the government must take action and do something to help by explaining the procedure and how they are going to enhance ecotourism in that area. Does that answer your question?
Ada? I think 5 minutes. Still time. Is it time, Malay? Do we still have time? One more? 1 more minute. Ke tak ya?
Thank you very much, judges, for the questions. And also thank you very much to Sekolah Menengah Sains Seri Puteri for the wonderful and insightful presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Tes.
Sukses.
Hello everyone, my name is Sikuan Arif. Test. Hello everyone, my name is Sikuan Arif bin Johan from Sekolah Datuk Abraza, and I will be your moderator for this term. Now, let's hear it from the second team, Sekolah Menengah Sains Jeli, to present.
In Indigenous Peoples Village, Sungai Rual, we are not just growing food, but we are growing hope through indigenous-driven ecotourism. But before that, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I bid to honorable educators, Mr. Moderator, precise timekeeper, and lastly, members of the house. Today, Jeli Science School are going to present to you our research entitled Leveraging Ecotourism for Food Security, Sustainable Recommendation to Mitigate Hunger among indigenous community. And in this research that we will specifically focus on indigenous community in Sungai Rual, Jeli, Kelantan. Okay, this presentation is brought to you by our mentor, Mr. Azim bin Ismail, alongside with my teammates, me, myself, Zahra Hani as the moderator, Kisha Arisa as the presenter, Iril Daniel as the tag assist, and lastly, Akir Rudy as the reporter. For your information, this research was a collaboration between Jeli Science School Frsis 2025 team with Jabatan Kebajikan Orang Asli, Jeli branch, guided by Encik Azri, the Community Development Officer. And in this presentation today, I will be delivering to you guys the research methodology that we use and the objective regarding the SDG number 2. And my partner, Kisha Arisa, will deliver to you the issue that the indigenous people in Sungai Rual, Jeli, Kelantan face and the solution regarding the issue. Moving on to the first agenda, the research methodology. We have used 3 research methodology, which is the interview, and secondly, the government report plus case study, and lastly, the site observation. On behalf on the interview, we have interviewed 2 parties, which is the first one is the Department of Indigenous People Development, Jeli branch, and secondly, the Indigenous People of Sungai Rual. This method is fundamental for us to collect data directly from the people who take care of the indigenous people welfare and the indigenous people themselves. These are the picture proof to you that we really did the interview with both parties. Secondly, on the government report past case study, we have obtained information via government report and studying scholarly articles. For example, the articles talking about socio-economic challenge among indigenous population in Eastern Kelantan, written by the Faisal bin Mahmud from University of Malaysia, Kelantan. It is important to take in as much as possible information regarding the welfare of the indigenous people, especially the indigenous people in Sungai Rual. These are the proof that the articles that we read through in this research. Okay, moving on to the site observation, we have observed the indigenous people village Sungai Rual, Jeli, Kelantan. This site observation purpose is to prove
purpose is to produce precise data and to get accurate results. Okay, moving on to the second segment, which is the objective. In this research, we have two objectives that we want to reach. The first one is to identify the cause behind insufficient generation of income, and secondly is to propose economic sovereignty. Before carry on, I would like to tell you the two key terms that we highlighted in this research based on our objective. The first one is sovereignty, and the second one is the employment. Moving on to the first one is sovereignty in our context. Refer to, we want to give the full right and power of governing to indigenous community of Sungai Rual without outside interference. Meanwhile, employment in our context means that we want to give the job opportunities created through ecotourism, allowing locals to earn income by engaging in farming, tourism, and also cultural activities. Okay, for the next segment, I'll shift this presentation to my partner, Kisha Arisa.
Thank you, honey. All right, so moving on to the third segment, which is the issues. So based on our research methodology, we have identified two main issues. First of all is lack of stable income sources, and second of all is limited market access. So let me break it down to you one by one. Starting off with lack of stable income sources. This means that the people of Sungai Rual, Jeli, Kelantan are living in poverty and are financially insecure. Based on our interview with one of the villagers from Sungai Rual, we can identify that these people are living from hand to mouth. This is because they have no steady income nor food security. So, what are the factors towards this issue? Well, the community relies on forest resources, small-scale farming, and also irregular daily jobs. This will bring them to no fixed monthly salary, low and unstable income, and by that, they can only afford foods on the day they earn something or when their harvest is not disrupted. So, moving on to the second issue, which is limited market access. So, the people of Sungai Rual do create handicrafts and also propose agricultural good. An example of the handicraft is the one on the table right there. It is an accessory for the people doing sewang dance performance. All right, so because of the lack of market access and also limited commercial market, the people of Sungai Rual cannot generate income, and they can only generate income through words of mouth. So, what are the factors towards this issue? Well, generally because of limited market demand. Okay, I'll take the example again of traditional handicraft. These types of products may be niche toward the outside community, but so the market outside of the community of Sungai Rual will be unfamiliar with this kind of indigenous products. So, ladies and gentlemen, what is the solution for this problem? Well, our team has created a tourism model. So, a tourism model in our context means that it is a conceptual framework to help us understand, analyze, plan, or even manage tourism activities. So before I get into detail about our tourism model, let me briefly explain to you on why do we create an ecotourism model at Sungai Rual, Jeli, Kelantan. Well, first of all, is because of its unique geography. So you can take a picture below there. This is the river from Sungai, one of the places in Sungai Rual. So this is proof that the site has natural features and environmental processes such as its landforms and also water system. As you know, the landforms in Sungai Rual are more to hills and mountains, and as for their water system, they have waterfalls and also rivers. All right, so moving to the second point, which is their culture. The picture below shows a part of the sewang dance performance. So this shows that their tradition, arts, and daily life of local communities will definitely attract tourists seeking for authentic, original indigenous tourism. So, moving on to the flow of our solution, we think that by creating ecotourism in Sungai Rual will create jobs for the people. For example, we can hire them as tour guides, harvesters, or even hire a whole party to support the ecotourism going on in Sungai Rual. And by that, this will generate income for the people themselves, and lastly, reduce hunger and poverty happening in that area. Now, let us get into detail with our tourism model. Judges, you can take a look at the pamphlet given to you just now. We have created 3 package options. First of all is package 1, which is a 2-hour trip that costs only 50 ringgit. And in this package, you can visit the Handicraft Center, enjoy the Sewan dance performance, have a visit to the Mushroom Center, and lastly, you can have a visit to the Honey Gallery and Farm. Moving on to package 2, it is a half-day trip that costs only 80 ringgit. And in this package, you have all the activities from package 1, including enjoying local dishes and also a visit to the chili plantation. And lastly, as for package 3, it is a full day trip that only costs 100 ringgit. And in this package, you will have all of the activities from package 2, including and visit to the Indigenous Communities Museum and also a river bathing activity. So based on our package, our team has conducted a pilot project to rigorously validate the proposed methodology and to generate high quality, reliable data and also conclusive findings. And after our pilot project, we can assure you that an ecotourism model in Sungai Rual, Jeli, Kelantan will generate income and lastly, reduce hunger and poverty happening in that area. As to conclude our research, ecotourism can be one of the effective solutions to combat hunger and poverty amongst the indigenous community in Sungai Rual. And as for our future research, we would like to assess the scalability of ecotourism model in Sungai Rual and lastly, expand this ecotourism model to all other indigenous communities around Malaysia. Thank you for lending your ears. I, Kisha Arisa binti Muhammad Rosmaini, as the presenter and representative from Frsis Team 2025 Restore Case. Thank you very much.
I would like to invite participants to ask questions.
It's not only us that are taking part, but we've included the people of Banda Jeli itself to participate in our pilot project. And after the pilot project was conducted, we asked questions around, and they said that this will generate income. And as you can see, this is one of the products of traditional handicrafts. Yes, so this was actually created by the people of Sungai Rual themselves, and we've bought this during our site observation. And during our pilot project, they got more income from the people that we've brought in. Does that answer your question? Thank you. Any more questions?
Now I would like to open the floor for judges to ask questions.
All right. Thank you so much.
Observation. Our site observation was we included one of the staff members from Jakowa themselves, and during our site observation, they were really close with each other. And yes, they do speak Kelantan there, so it is we can communicate with them, and we've even asked them if we are going to propose a tourism there, can they be tour guides and everything? And yes, they said they are interested in doing that, and they can definitely propose ecotourism over there.
yang itu indigenous people punya. And for the interview,
Okay, this slide is the proof that we really interviewed those the aunties from the Sungai Rual. It is proof that we asked her that is she taking breakfast today, and she said that she's not taking breakfast yet because she has no money. She's waiting for her husband to come back home.
And also for as for the department, we've asked them about their social life and their main things such as their language, how do they speak, how are their lifestyles.
Thank you, judges, for your time, and thank you, Sekolah Menengah Sains Jeli, for that thought-provoking presentation. Next, I would like to invite Sekolah Menengah Sains Labuan to present.
Ending hunger is not a gesture of charity. It is an act of justice. Esteemed judges, respected moderators, vigilant timekeepers, diligent repertoires, teacher advisors, and attentive audiences. Could you imagine a world with no hunger, with thriving local communities, and a tourism industry that not only sustains people, but also heals the planet? We're truly honored to present our research entitled From Oil to Eco, DESA's Role in Labuan's Green Future. Our presentation focuses on Subtheme 1, Social Enterprises in Ecotourism, a symbiotic approach to poverty alleviation, aligned with SDG 2, Zero Hunger. Before we begin, allow me to introduce myself and my fellow team members. I am Nurkasi Amina, and here with me today are Leo Adri and Humaira Dayana. We'd also like to acknowledge Nazrin Shah for his hard work behind the scenes, and let's extend our heartfelt appreciation to my teacher advisor, Miss Cassandra. Here are the overview of the content we'll be presenting today. Let us begin with the background to provide a clear understanding of today's presentation. Labuan,
known as the Pearl of Borneo, has a population of about 1,800 and an unemployment rate of 6.1%, one of the highest in Malaysia. Its economy relies heavily on petrochemical exports, which make up over 70% of total exports, highlighting the island's dependence on the oil and gas sector.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to DESA land, otherwise known as DESA Tunas Hijau. It's located in the federal territory of Labuan and started its operation in 2021. Now, it covers an area of 7.5 acres with more exciting developments ongoing as we speak right now. Its founder, Dato' Seri Muhammad alias Abdul Rahman, envisioned a place where you can enjoy nature while also enjoying modern comfort.
Our research aligns with Sustainable Development Goal 2, Zero Hunger, focusing on poverty as key cause of hunger. We explore how ecotourism can create sustainable job opportunities, helping to reduce poverty and combat hunger globally.
Ecotourism refers to responsible travel to natural areas that conserves the environment and benefits local communities. Ecotourism promotes sustainable development, preserving biodiversity, and empowers rural and indigenous communities. By reducing tourism's impact and raising environmental awareness, it offers a sustainable alternative to extractive industries. How is employment related to our goal, Diana?
That's a great question, Kase. Employment is closely related to SDG 2 because access to food is not only about availability, but also about affordability and stability, which are directly influenced by employment.
This leads us to our problem statement. While Labuan possesses significant potential for ecotourism, its current economic structure dominated by the oil and gas industry fails to capitalize on these natural assets such as forests, coral reefs, and beaches, leading to missed opportunities for sustainable development, community empowerment, and economic diversification. Now, let's review a piece of literature relevant to our research. An article titled Lost Opportunities in Labuan states that Labuan has massive potential for ecotourism. However, this potential is lost since Labuan's economy is dominated by the oil and gas industry. Let's take a look at a global example. Dubai once economy was also dominated by the oil and gas industry, but now it has successfully diversified its economy and is thriving in multiple industries, including tourism. However, Labuan is still lagging behind in comparison to Dubai, where its economy relies heavily on the oil and gas industry. However, this comparison is imperative to show that if Dubai can successfully transform its economy beyond oil and gas, Labuan can do so, starting with the power of nature and community-based tourism. Ladies and gentlemen, our objective for our research today has three main objectives. First, to assess community views and the potential of eco-entrepreneurships as new paths for local development.
Second, to evaluate the potential of DESA land as a sustainable economic to Labuan's overdependence on the oil and gas industry.
Lastly, to explore how DESA land helps create jobs and improve the socio-economic well-being of people in Labuan.
Our research employed two methods of data collection. First, we gathered qualitative data through interviews with the owner and staff of DESA land, allowing us to understand their perspective and experiences. Next, we collected quantitative data using structured questionnaires to obtain measurable and objective findings. To strengthen our analysis, we also conducted a meta-analysis using secondary data from government policies and scholarly sources.
To address our first objective, which is to assess community views and the potential of eco-entrepreneurship as new paths for local development, we collected data through a questionnaire. 79.4% of respondents believe that it is very important for Labuan to diversify its economy beyond the oil and gas sector. Not only that, 66.7% of respondents are interested as visitors, while 18.6% are interested as hosts in the ecotourism sector of Labuan. Not only, next, 69.5% believes that ecotourism can create sustainable jobs in Labuan, while 29.3% see challenges. Overall, the community shows clear support for exploring eco-entrepreneurship as new paths for local development. Labuan has massive potential in ecotourism due to its natural beauty, frequent local events, and enhance connectivity. Our findings clearly show that there is a strong community support for economic diversification and with a high interest in community-based tourism. However, there remains a gap in business knowledge and detailed knowledge, pointing to a need for greater awareness, training, and policy support.
Moving on to our second objective, to evaluate the potential of DESA land as a sustainable economic to Labuan's overdependence on the oil and gas industry. According to Jeri, head of Joint Tourism Development for Labuan, the duty-free island of Labuan is striving to become a preferred ecotourism destination in the Asia Pacific by adopting effective measures to increase activities and promotions related to tourism. In 2023, a study looked at ecotourism in Labuan Bajo, a town in a nearby country. We found some ideas that relate to our own situation. First, both places still rely a lot on oil and gas, so moving towards ecotourism makes sense. Second, there's strong ecotourism potential. Like them, we have natural beauty that could attract eco-friendly travelers. Thirdly, involving local community is important. Their approach includes locals in planning and decision making, something we can learn from. These points gives us useful ideas to help build a greener future for our island. What this tells us is that ecotourism isn't just a theoretical idea. It's already being prioritized at the policy level. There's clear intent and effort from decision makers to pivot Labuan's economy into a more resilient and sustainable model.
Now, let's dive into our last objective to explore at how community-based ecotourism like DESA helps create jobs and improve the social and economic well-being of people in Labuan. You might be wondering, how does DESA's initiative supports both environmental conservation and efforts to reduce poverty in Labuan? Since its establishment in 2021, DESA has welcomed over 100,000 visitors, reinforcing its position as a key player in Labuan's ecotourism landscape. Recent reports states that the Federal Territories Department allocated 1 million ringgit to Labuan Corporation for infrastructure upgrades and enhancing tourism products, aiming to boost Labuan's appeal as a sustainable ecotourism destination. DESA helps reduce unemployment by offering rentable booths for individuals to sell goods and promote the sale of locally made crafts. DESA promotes awareness by engaging students in leaf-based collages, guided eco-walks, and nature-themed treasure hunts. Lastly, DESA has also been awarded the Malaysia Tourism Quality Assurance certification for the period from March 6, 2023 to March 5, 2026.
While Labuan has potential to diversify its economy through ecotourism, it faces challenges, notably limited natural attractions compared to mainland Borneo. It must compete with Sabah and Sarawak's rainforests, mountains, and rare wildlife.
Next is limited human capital limitations. There is a shortage of skilled workers trained in sustainable tourism, environmental conservation, and hospitality management.
Lastly, tourism must be balanced with conservation to protect ecosystems that ecotourists seek. Poor management can lead to over-tourism and ecological damage.
In conclusion, Labuan can develop ecotourism infrastructure by investing in eco-friendly accommodation, trails, and transportation to make natural attraction accessible while minimizing environmental impact in order to diversify its economy.
Not only that, they can promote local community involvement by training and empowering local residents to become guides, hosts, and entrepreneurs.
Lastly, tourism must be balanced with conservation to protect ecosystems that Labuan could also develop partnerships and collaboration. Government agencies, NGOs, private sector investors should engage in order to support sustainable tourism initiatives.
That concludes our presentation. Thank you for your attention, and remember,
Beyond oil
towards
towards sustainability. Here are our references.
I would like to invite participants to ask questions. Now I would like to invite the judges to ask questions.
All right. Again, congratulations to Sekolah Menengah Sains Labuan, far away from Labuan. Is everything okay? Traveling from Labuan to here?
Yes.
Good to hear that. I just wonder, when you are doing this survey, can you share with us how is the demographic profile patterns of the people that answering questions? What are their occupations? Because at the end of the slide, I realized that limited of human capital is one of the issue here. So how do they really ready for this, for what you just suggest? Got it? Or is it too much?
Can you?
Okay, so what is the demographic patterns, especially in the occupations, based on the survey, the respondent that answer your survey?
I shared the most people who are working, people who are working. Most respondents that answer our questionnaire, from what we observed and from what we shared with in most groups, are working adults. We are talking people in private sectors, people in oil and gas sectors. It's diverse. They are working in many jobs, and they are also students in our respondents' demographic.
So do you think because of that demographic profile, it links to the issue of limited of human capitals in developing the place as ecotourism destination? At the end, right, you mentioned on the human capital limitations. So what do you think?
We think it does, because when people who have experience in when people has experience in jobs, they understand the importance of having human capital, having workforce to empower these industries. So without people who are actually skilled, people who are actually informed about the industry wouldn't actually make a difference to Labuan's economy. Does that answer your question? Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you very much, Sekolah Menengah Sains Labuan, for that wonderful presentation. And thank you, judges, for your time.
Slide 1, 2, 3.
Now, all the way from Rembau, let's invite Sekolah Menengah Sains Rembau.
Starting in 3, 2, 1. Come for the prawns, stay for the cause. Our rivers got more than scenic applause. No fancy hotels, no billionaire fuss. Just locals, a boat, and a purpose with guts.
Our research is titled Profit for Purpose, the Dual Impact of Ecotourism and Social Enterprise. Although it might sound predictable, trust me, by the end of our presentation, you'll still be surprised. But before that, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good day I bid to the esteemed judges, teachers, and fellow changemakers. My name is Arif.
And my name is Alia, and today we'll be your lovely presenters, proudly presenting semester.
We're going to take you on a journey today, not down the river, but a journey of how ecotourism and social enterprises can actually work together in order to solve poverty alleviation and also food insecurity.
There were a lot of different places that we can choose, but at the end, we chose Kampung Sungai Timun, a charming village in our hearts in Rembau, Negeri Sembilan, where the mangroves grows and the community glows.
Can you see how beautiful Kampung Sungai Timun really is? A future without this is not a future I want to live in. We believe that we don't take action now, there will be no future with it anymore.
Problem statement. Despite the potential of ecotourism and social enterprises, the role of informal initiatives in rural poverty alleviation remains underexplored academically.
This gap limits our understanding about the true potential of ecotourism and social enterprises. We believe that in status quo, of course, there are many researches conducted about social enterprises, but then there's a trend where they only tend to choose social enterprises that are big, famous, and popular, while those who are informal or basically less known, they will continuously become forgotten. Now, like any proper study, we took the time to actually give definitions for a few crucial terms. First, poverty. Based on this definition, we see how poverty is not simply just the lack of money, but also leads to other issues, including the ability to get food. We tell you this is how it exactly directly aligns with our SDG 2, Zero Hunger. We tell you how due to poverty, it will lead to hunger, which is why it will immediately, ultimately solve the problems as a whole. Other than that, the term ecotourism. The International Ecotourism Society in 2015 gave us the definition how ecotourism is responsible tourism to natural areas, promoting environmental conservation, local economic growth, and also cultural education.
Lastly is social enterprise. So based on David A. Fennell, he conducted a research in 2020 which stated social enterprises are organizations that employ market-driven strategies primarily for social or environmental objectives. So you may ask, right, what does market-driven strategies mean? It basically means that we're going to give the people what they want. And at the end of the day, we're going to reinvest all of these profits that they gain to sustain their missions. But before that, let me give you a brief comparison on the difference on standard social enterprise and grassroots social enterprise. So the normal standard social enterprise is basically a formal enterprise which is a social enterprise that must be legally registered by the government or by an NGO. So these enterprise, they can get funding, for example, from government grants and from big companies. Compared to the grassroots social enterprise, the enterprise that we want to focus on today is is an informal form of social enterprise. And in this case, in Kampung Sungai Timun, it is built by the local community. So where do they get their fundings, you may ask? There are two ways. Firstly, is by the community, meaning to say from the donations and from the volunteers. And secondly, is from what they do. For example, boat tours.
Now, research objectives was the main source for us to actually conduct our research. First, to examine how informal initiatives operate as social enterprises. Second, to identify the contribution of such initiatives towards two of our objectives, which is poverty alleviation and also food security. And lastly, to explore the challenges of informal social enterprise models. Throughout this research, we use a mixed methodology where we actually combine qualitative method and quantitative method to actually ensure the best outcomes.
So, three instruments that we have chosen to conduct our research is firstly, semi-structured interview, secondly, observation checklist, and last but not least is the community impact questionnaires. So, here is for the semi Yes. So here are some of our respondents, which is firstly, Encik Muhammad Shazwan Hussein. He is the assistant manager of Kampung Sungai Timun.
His role in our research is the main role. He is the central role. Why? Because he acts as a middleman between Kampung Sungai Timun and other parties. For example, we see how Mr. Haris Rajkumar, he is a party of the corporations. Mr. Ismail bin Sa'ari is a party of the government. Next, Dr. Shahabuddin is someone from educational institution and Mr. Jufutri is someone from NGOs. We see how the role of Mr. Shazwan here is to actually become the middleman to connect between Kampung Sungai Timun and other parties.
So for observation checklist, 3 times that we went to Kampung Sungai Timun to actually identify the main problem and to make our research good. Which is firstly, we went during weekends, and secondly, we went during weekdays, and last but not least, we went during community programs. So here are some pictures and some solid proofs of our observation checklist. Moving on to our research question. So, first research question is how does the ecotourism initiatives in Kampung Sungai Timun functions as a social enterprise? So firstly, we tell you it functions as because it is mission driven. So what is mission driven, you may ask? It is the primary goal. This is because the primary goal of these social enterprises are not for personal profit, but to benefit the local communities. We tell you one of the examples that we can give you is how they use their allocation to reinvest in maintaining their boats and jetties for this Kampung Sungai Timun. Next is about community owned and operated. We tell you locals, especially youth, usually went outside of this village because of lack of job opportunities. And we tell you social enterprises today, it functions because they do give job opportunities. So without this SE, more youth will actually go outside of the village, and this can create a major impact at the village at the end of the day. Because at the end of the day, more old people will be there, and the village itself is going to start disappearing.
The second question, in what ways does this initiative impact poverty alleviation and food security? The main impact as a whole is through job and business opportunities. We see how all these services provided, they act as a way for locals to earn their own money, so they don't actually have to depend on the government or basically other sources. Okay, but of course, we can't just make our own assumptions. So we actually handed out a simple questionnaire to 12 respondents. These are the data provided by these 12 respondents. And basically, all of these actually strengthened our observations as they are proven to be true. Next is about the environmental impact. As we see, basically, when we are actually able to protect the environment, it will actually lead to food security as a whole. Okay. So how? We see how in collaboration with UTM, Kampung Sungai Timur was actually able to geotag their mangrove plantations. How this works then, when they actually geotag their mangrove plantations, they're actually able to observe and identify the progress and the growth of these mangrove plantations, ensuring that they can actually thrive properly, ensuring that the locals are actually able to actually make money, or even if they don't want to make money, at least they can make it as a source of food.
And last but not least is question 3. Is what challenges exist for informal ecotourism based social enterprise? Obviously, you can't expect everything to be perfect. So here we tell you is what is the challenges. Firstly, the main problem is lack of credible recognition. This is because they are unofficial, because they are not registered, they lack credible recognition and they miss out on fundings, trainings, and trust. So with limited income, they struggle to sustain, especially for boats and jetties. And at the end of the day, is going up when this income drops because no tourists will actually come, and this will actually harm the whole ecosystem in this Kampung Sungai Timur.
Thankfully, we actually have a solution to this problem because we say that a way for these social enterprises to actually become better is to build a strong reputation. How can they do this? Number one, they can work with NGOs where they can actually build more connection and networking amongst themselves. And number two, they can also offer classes or basically trainings for competency to actually show or basically act as the decrease of operational costs, where people can volunteer to work in their place, but they don't actually get paid. So we see how this can actually become as educational share. We believe that it's something that is very beneficial and will help the social enterprise as a whole. To conclude, we believe that grassroots ecotourism has real potential to ease poverty and improve food security in rural areas. Although the first thing that might come to mind when we talk about zero hunger is agriculture, we believe that that is not the only way, which is why we chose Kampung Sungai Timur as our main objective. So that's all from us. Thank you.
Now, any participants who would like to ask any questions? Okay, yes, sir. Hold on, so mic, sir, mic, please.
Testing, testing. So earlier you mentioned something about an observation checklist. However, can you please tell me what exactly that is and what are the observations that you were checking off?
Okay, so basically when we talk about observation checklist, it basically means how we went to the same destination during different times. We give the example of weekdays, weekends, and also during community programs. We tell you that we chose this because we believe that during these certain days or basically these certain situations, of course, the demographic of the place will be different. We tell you that this is we actually did this in order to actually make sure that we are actually getting the accurate information, not just getting the best visitors on weekdays or on weekends, or we're basically making sure that we're actually able to interview the correct people when we actually came during the community programs. I hope that answered your question.
It does. Thank you.
Any other participants who would like to ask questions? Okay, in that case, I will allow the judges to ask their questions.
Okay. Assalamualaikum. Good morning. So my question is, at the very beginning, you showed us a few prospective places that you could have chosen for your research context. So what have actually inspired you to choose Kampung Sungai Timur compared to the other possible places to do your research at? Thank you.
So technically, based on the map we showed, there was 4 destinations. One was in Negeri Sembilan, and the other 3 were actually in Malacca. What actually connected them was the river, where they were actually connected through the same river. Why we chose Kampung Sungai Timur? First, because we see how Kampung Sungai Timur is an informal social enterprise, and that was the main target, to actually prove how grassroots can also succeed. And secondly, because of course, we wanted to actually go to that place, and we believe that going to Negeri Sembilan is much more feasible to go rather than going to Malacca, since we are in Rembau as a whole.
May I continue? And as you can see in our research, we did a lot of our methodology was very competent because of the feasibility that we have. Since we are in semester, we are in Rembau, we are very near with Kampung Sungai Timun, and in our school ourselves, there are a lot of our friends that are actually the children of these fishermen, and basically we have a lot of connection with Kampung Sungai Timun at our heart.
Thank you, judges, and thank you, participants, for the questionnaire. And also thank you very much to Sekolah Menengah Sains Rembau for the insightful presentation on Kampung Sungai Timun.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, I would like to invite Sekolah Sains Sultan Haji Ahmad Shah to present.
Take only memories, leave only footprints. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very pleasant morning I bid to the judges, moderator, timekeeper, and all participants. We are the representative from Sekolah Sains Sultan Haji Ahmad Shah Pekan. I am Kastif.
And I'm Isabel.
That is my friend Paan, and this is our technical assistant, Wais. So today, we are going to present a symbiotic approach to poverty alleviation aligned with SDG 2, Zero Hunger. We use Raft houses as a sustainable ecotourism asset, and will elaborate about the opportunities and the challenges. So, without further ado, I will ensure everyone understand what is ecotourism. Ecotourism is about traveling to natural places without harming them. Ecotourism also helps conserve the environment, supports the well-being of local communities.
So there are certain characteristics of ecotourism. So I'm about to let you guys know about 3 key characteristics of ecotourism. So the first, ecotourism should be environmentally responsible. They should also be conservation focused, and they should have some community involvement. So here is the objective of our research. So we did this research to assess the environmental sustainability of raft houses, to evaluate their socio-economic potential in local tourism economies, and also to identify key regulatory, environmental, and operational challenges impeding their sustainable development.
To obtain the information for our project, we use a few methods. First, we use a survey form and share it with the raft house, fellow guests, visitors, and also tourists. Second, we do a stakeholders interview with the raft house owner, head of village, raft house staff, and also the local communities.
So we actually did a Google form, and we asked the tourists who have been to the raft house in the past to fill the form out for us. So as you can see from this pie chart that we obtained from the questions, most of the tourists who visited there
are actually the locals from the area. So when we asked them how did they get to know about the Raft House, about 40% said that they came across the Raft House through social media. So this shows how big of an impact social media has towards the promotion of the Raft House, despite them, most of them being the locals there. So most of them just simply said the reason for their visit to the Raft House was just for relaxation or adventurous purpose. So in the Raft House in Pekan, there actually are certain activities that all the tourists can involve in. So most of them said that they enjoy fishing, which actually can help boost the fishermen's income there.
So not only we use survey and stakeholders interview, we also observe the honest customers review from the website Rumah Rakyat Marai. So based on the customers review, you could see that the customers all left very good reviews, stating that the Raft House is very convenient and fascinating. The data we collected is to ensure we understand that the ecological impact, the community perceptions, and also the satisfaction of tourists that came to the Raft House. Raft houses are not well known, but it offers a lot of things, such as low impact travel, generating local income, and also enhancing natural-based experiences.
So let me elaborate more on the low impact travel. So as some of you might know, Raft houses are water-based tourist spot, which is mostly based on rivers or lakes. So this can help reduce the need for land, for resorts or roads to travel on. Moreover, it can also minimize environmental damage, making it a more eco-friendly travel option. Next, Raft houses can also help generating local income. As some of you might know, Raft houses are usually owned by the local communities there. So this creates jobs and boosts the income for the local community. For example, as you guys saw in our survey earlier, most of them enjoy fishing there. So this can help boost the fishermen's income there. And also some of them can sell their local delicacies there, which can attract more tourists to go and try their favorite food there. Next is it helps in enhancing nature-based experience. So most tourists, example, from the city or from the States, they can experience a new and immersive experience. Example, they can look at the sunrise or even just waking up to the wildlife noises on the water.
So everyone has heard about the pros of the Raft House. Let's hear about the cons. First, we have inadequate waste disposal system, water pollution, and also lack of standardized construction. Moving along, I will elaborate more about inadequate waste disposal system. So as you may know, many Raft houses in Malaysia do not have a proper way to manage their waste, such as human waste and also food waste. This could lead to accumulation of trash, leading to the river being so bad and could drive all the tourists away. Moving along, we have water pollution. Water pollution is very common with Raft houses since it is on the water. So, water pollution always contributes to oil leaks from boats, rainwater discharge, and also plastic pollution. This matter could cause the marine life in the lake being extinct and also drive the tourists away because this creates a bad image for the Raft houses. Last but not least, we have a lack of standardized construction. Because the Raft houses are built by the local communities, they are often built using local or recycled materials. As you may know, local or recycled materials have a weak structure. So it could lead to the difficulties to maintain the quality of the Raft house and also lead to safety issues.
So our findings suggest us that with integrated environmental planning, stricter regulations, and community-based management, we can help overcome the challenges stated earlier. So let me elaborate more on the integrated environmental planning. So we can promote sustainable use of resources for the ecosystem protection. So promoting sustainable use of resources helps prevent the overuse of the ecosystem so that the ecosystem isn't burdened by too many tourists at once. Apart from that, sensitive ecotourisms can be properly zoned for development and also for tourist purposes to avoid any unnecessary damages to sensitive ecosystem. Next is by implementing stricter regulations. This helps prevent over-tourism. Stricter rules ensure the ecosystem isn't burdened by too many tourists at once. Next, it helps preserve biodiversity, which not only protects individual species, but also the whole ecosystem in general. Apart from that, it also minimizes pollution. For instance, government can restrict the use of plastic and ensure that waste is properly handled and recycled by all the tourists that go there. Next is the community-based management. This is for cultural preservation. So these raft houses offer a platform for showcasing and preserving indigenous cultures, traditions from the locals there. Next, it also pays an economic benefit, which offers communities an alternative for supplementary income sources. If let's say their job is not working, this can be a side income for their daily routine. So, to conclude our presentation earlier, our findings suggests that with integrated environmental planning, stricter regulations, and community-based management, raft houses can serve as a model for responsible tourism development in aquatic environments. That's all from us. Thank you.
The floor is open to Q&A.
Okay, good morning. It's quite a good presentation just now. All right. You mentioned about Raft House, right, in Pekan Pahang. Right. My question is, you mentioned about activities, right, just now. And then how, and then about nature-based experience, because most of the tourists are living in the cities, right? But can you elaborate more? And then did you refer to any rough houses in either Malaysia or outside of Malaysia and compare? And then maybe from there you can take the initiative, means that another house, rough houses out there that are more, practice more ecosystem and less damage for our nature.
Okay. To answer your question, we actually visited a raft house in Pekan Pahang, but the raft house is interlinked to a raft house in Rompin Pahang, which is using the same water base, which is the water from Sungai Pahang. So in the raft house in Pekan actually has a river cruise option, indoor fishing option, and also kayaking option. So the raft house in Rompin actually is less sustainable compared to the raft house in Pekan because they do not they use the still water for their fishing. So not many tourists are attracted to go to the raft house in Rompin. Does that answer your question?
Okay, one last, I think this is going to be the last questions. So based on the suggestions that you provided, related on the strict regulation and so on, in your opinion, how does from that suggestions can can curb the issue of ecological impact, especially from the waste from the craft house itself.
Kalau kita stick to regulations, how is it gonna waste dia? How is strict regulations gonna tak macam ni? Kalau kita stick to regulations and put like a penalty, most of them are gonna manage the waste responsibly. Elaborate more on that. What is help? Zuko. Cepat. Have penalty. When you have strict regulations, you have penalty. So it's gonna help overcome. It's a fact. What is 300 next? Cepat. Aku pakai. What is cepat lah. They have strict regulations that have penalty. So they have penalty. More people are not prone to following the rules, and will help minimize waste.
Because of we suggested the stricter regulation is because when we have a stricter regulation, there will be penalty. So when we have penalty, people will be prone to minimize the waste. Then if everybody minimize the waste in the rough house can be decreases. Does that answer your question? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, okay.
Okay, last one. Morning, guys and girls. Okay, one question. Could you please enlighten us regarding the link between your research and also the SDG of zero hunger? Thank you.
Bila kau macam ni, sebab local communities is a rural area. Kat situ yang kita pergi tu. So most of them, kalau ada turis ke situ. So kalau turis pergi sana, it can also increase the local income. With the local income, the locals kat situ takkan dah suffer. They won't face any harm. Okay. I'm sorry. Come on, you can do it right. Take the mic. Take the mic. Okay.
Test. Okay. To answer your question, the place that we went to in Pekan Pahang, which is the Raft House, we went to the local community there, where most of the people live in hunger and poverty. So by creating an ecotourism there, which is the Raft House, the local community there can generate income and prevent living in hunger and poverty. Does that answer your question? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sekolah Sains Sultan Haji Ahmad Shah, for that stimulating presentation. And thank you, judges, for your time. With that presentation, our first session for today is officially adjourned.